It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of June 9th, 1995. 5 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is Congo. Unfortunately, the movie did not live up to that pretty badass teaser trailer that they put out. Yeah, and the sad part is you see Stan Winston doing the visual effects for this. I mean, this is the guy that did those groundbreaking effects for Terminator 2. He's done a ton of great visual effects in the past, but when you see the visual effects of this movie, specifically with the gorilla Amy, this is a bad movie. This is a horribly made movie, and despite all the talent that it has on here, I mean, you're talking about Frank Marshall, who also produces with Kathleen Kennedy, John Patrick Shanley, Michael Crichton, a cast that includes Laura Linney, Dylan Walsh, Ernie Hudson, Joe Don Baker, Tim Curry. A pretty fun idea based off of a really good book, but this just feels like a knockoff of Jurassic Park. I mean, this is Paramount basically trying to make their own Jurassic Park style hit, which it wasn't that. It did make a ton of money, but it was not a big hit. It was not a Jurassic Park caliber hit, but nevertheless, the movie really misfires big time. There's nothing really all that interesting about it. There's nothing really all that exciting about it. You're really looking at some of this stuff in here, and you're just kind of like, what is the end result of this supposed to be? Like, what am I supposed to get out of this? But, I mean, to its credit, it does have some moments that are unintentionally funny, like Tim Curry's bizarre accent that he has in this. Like, he has one of the best lines in the movie. No, the diamonds are here. And just the way he says it is just like, how can you not laugh when you see that? It's just like, it's just really those moments there are so ridiculous. They're so silly. They're so stupid that I can't help but laugh about it. And I mean, this is supposed to be a movie that's supposed to have this groundbreaking visual effects technology, and like I said before, you see Amy the gorilla coming in, and it's clearly somebody in a gorilla suit, and and you got these two people in the audience who are just like, this isn't Mr. Ed, and his wife's just like, I know this isn't Mr. Ed, and like, that right there was a red flag right away going into this movie. Like, they think that comparing this to Mr. Ed is something amazing, and just like, oh, this movie is just a disaster on so many levels. Like, I guess for some people it has some nostalgic elements to it that they may enjoy out of it, but me personally, I think I'm with a lot of people who watch this movie, and I realize that this is definitely not a very good film by any means necessary. Yeah, it's just a horrible movie. I mean, it's just not a good film at all, and yet it was one of the big hits that summer. It was what do I know, I guess. But, anyway, so that is Congo. Let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Smoke, which actually has kind of a little bit of an interesting history behind it, but I'll tell you more about that after this. So Smoke basically is kind of the Big Chill, except it takes place mostly within a cigar shop. It also has kind of a little bit of a feel of Clerks, because it takes place over in this one corner in Brooklyn, and you're just following the misadventures of all these different people that are around, and the characters in this particular film include such names as the names that they mentioned, William Hurt, who was in The Big Chill, Harvey Keitel, Stockard Channing, a young Harold Perrineau, Jared Harris, Giancarlo Esposito, Ashley Judd, Forrest Whitaker, Malik Yoba. Some very notable names here. It is a well-made film. It does a very good job of creating some likable characters that you can relate to. The stories behind them are very interesting and engaging, and it balances out the comedic and dramatic elements very well. And while I won't go as far as to say it's kind of it's a Big Chill for the 90s, it's very much in that same line. It's not quite there, but it definitely has a lot about it that really does make it work. And the reason why I said this was an interesting film was because of what they did with a movie that came out later on in the year with pretty much a lot of the same people that made this movie, which is called Blue in the Face. Now, what happened with Blue in the Face was that's more of a lighthearted comedy kind of, but that was filmed over a 5-day period as a follow-up to this movie. They actually made this during the production of this film with Keitel starring in it. He stars in that one, and the other actors in that one ad-libbing scenes and characters between takes and they essentially made a sequel using that improvised material. And that one has some names that also include you see Giancarlo Esposito in that one as well, but Roseanne Barr is in it, Michael J. Fox, Lily Tomlin, Mira Sorvino, Lou Reed, Keith David, RuPaul, Madonna, Jared Harris. We'll delve into that one a little bit later on in the year, but if I have to compare the two movies, needless to say, Smoke is the better film. And yeah, it's just the film that just works a lot better. You like these characters more. You like the situations that they get involved in more. With Blue in the Face, like I said, I'll delve more to that when we get to that movie's release, which will be in October of '95. But yeah, wanted to bring that up as I talked about Smoke, and that's pretty much all you need to know about it. It's a very underrated film. I say definitely check it out if you get a chance to. With that said, let us move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Parker Posey in her feature film debut, and that is Party Girl. I should say that this is her leading film debut, and there's a lot about this movie that's very interesting too. For one thing, this movie actually premiered first online back in 1995. Remember, this is 1995, and the computers were not really a household name just yet, but they were just on the cusp of getting more and more prevalent, and certainly not where they would be. They certainly weren't where they were today, but this actually premiered on the internet on June 3rd, 1995. It actually came from a company called Point of Presence Company, and it appeared in their offices. Posey welcomed internet viewers and then introduced the film, and it was very interesting. It's a very interesting story to see that, but this also, this movie apparently has more of a following than I thought it did, because they actually did make a Fox TV series off of this the year following this, starring Christine Taylor from the Brady Bunch movie, but that didn't last very long. I think it only lasted about like 4 or 5 episodes, but as far as this movie goes, it's a pretty fun movie. This is directed by Daisy von Schlielmauer, who's made Woo. She also made the Madeline movie. She had a little bit of a career going in the 90s, and then she kind of petered off after that, but it's a fun little comedy, and I think Parker Posey definitely shows why she could be a really good leading actress in a movie, and this is definitely a very good movie for her to star in. You also have Guillermo Diaz from Half Baked in here. Liev Schreiber's also in here. It's a well-written movie, a very funny movie, definitely of the time period of the 90s. Not much more I can really add to it. It's just a really fun little comedy, and I didn't think it had that much of a lasting legacy, but I guess it kind of did. So, very underrated movie. Definitely check it out if you can. Party Girl. So, with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Wigstock, the movie. So this is a documentary focusing on the annual drag music festival that had been held in New York City's East Village in the 1980s and 90s. It shows a lot of stuff from the 94 festival, which included Crystal Waters, D-Life, Jackie B, Debbie Harry, Lee Bowery, Joey Arias, the Dooley Bankheads, RuPaul, of course, at the height of his mainstream fame. Alexis Arquette is another name in here. John Kelly. Basically just goes behind the scenes, examining the rehearsal process of a number of the performers in this. You follow a lot of the different people that are involved in the festival and all that type of stuff. I've never seen this movie before, so I can't really say anything about it. But it doesn't look like it's a bad movie. It looks like it looks like a very interesting documentary, and it could be something very interesting. Like, it could be something that could be very intriguing, even if you're not the biggest fan of drag queens and drag people and drag in general. But it definitely looks like it could be something very interesting. But like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say too much about it. But definitely does show some promise, though. So, quick review on that one. That's Wigstock, the movie. Let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Arizona Dream. Another one I never really heard of. Supposedly this movie was shot back in 1991, and it didn't get an official release until France put it out in 1993, and then eventually came to the U.S. the following year, and then I guess they re-released it this weekend. Looks like a very interesting movie. I mean, Johnny Depp, Jerry Lewis, Faye Dunaway, 3 different, very, very top-tier actors in this movie. Definitely could be a very interesting film. I see it's got some decent reviews for it. It looks pretty interesting. It doesn't really look like it's anything crazy groundbreaking, but it could be a lot of fun. It could be I'm very curious to see how Jerry Lewis, Faye Dunaway, and Johnny Depp would play together on screen. Like, it could be something very interesting. But overall, I haven't really seen this movie, so I can't really say too much about it. But I'm definitely intrigued by just that casting trio alone, like that, like Depp, Lewis, and Dunaway in one movie like this. Definitely has a lot of promise to it, and reviews for it are pretty good. So maybe there's something here. So other than that, this is another quick review for you. So that's Arizona Dream. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll jump into the middle of June 1995 with 4 movies, including the biggest release of the summer, Batman Forever, which is the first one without Michael Keaton or Tim Burton as director. It's Val Kilmer, first one by Joel Schumacher. The cast includes Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Nicole Kidman, Chris O'Donnell. We also have Disney's Pocahontas, which got a limited release this weekend. The Postman, the last film starring Massimo Troisi. And also The Incredibly True Adventures of Two Girls in Love. So we'll look at those 4 movies next time. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.